Hi, welcome to the Pearls and Polish Podcast, episode 47. My name is Rachel. I'm your host coming to you from Sacramento. This is the chaotic co-host Sabine. I just put her collar up on the bed and she's not amused by that. Here. Sabine is my 4-month-old puppy, so I usually lock her in here with me when I record, just so that she's not getting into trouble. If you're new, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk about knitting, crochet, stationery stuff, whatever we're up to, and just love sharing a bit of what's going on in our lives here with you. So we are still in my kids' room. This is a lot later in the day than when I normally record. I try to record Friday mornings because that's when I have the biggest chunk of uninterrupted time, but today has been super packed with one thing after another. So it's now like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's all right. I was a little worried I wasn't going to have a chance to record today, but we have some time. So let's get to it. Before I forget, make sure you like and subscribe so that you get a notification anytime we put up a new video. Also, all the makers, designers, dyers, and anyone else I mentioned in today's episode is going to be linked down below in the description. You'll probably hear some big munching sounds. That's Sabine chewing on her bone, which is better than her chewing on other things in this room. So let's just jump into it with finished objects. I have one. I finished it last night / this morning. This is my Pride and Prejudice cowl made from the minis. So these are a set of minis. There was 12 of them. This was an advent calendar that was put together by Lindsay of Hello Stella. She's a yarn dyer in, I want to say, Canada. And is there a twist in it? I haven't washed it. I haven't blocked it. I literally finished the cast off this morning. So I don't know. Oh, I did it right. The last time I did a big cowl like this, which is you just knit this giant tube and then like you seam it together at the end. I ended up getting a twist into it, which looked great, but is not what I necessarily wanted. So I'm excited that I actually got it right this time. So this is the title's a little confusing. It's the Advent 2019 Wolop cowl. I believe that's like the entire title. It's linked down below. But it's written for 24 minis that are 10 grams each. This was a set that was 12 minis at 20 grams each. So I used each color twice. So you can see red is here at one end and red is here at the other end. It gives you kind of 3 different transition. What are you doing, puppy? No. Here, this is yours. So it gives you 3 different transition options. So you have one that's this like eyelet, which is what I did throughout. They have one that's like a purl stitch. And then they have one that's, forgot what the other one was, but you like move through those throughout the different minis. I decided just to do the eyelet, and then I ended up with this like seam on the transitioning like color 1 to color 24 or 12 rather. But I kind of like it, so I'm not going to stress about it. But anyways, great pattern. Really great. Hold on. Now the dog stole a sock. She really likes socks. I don't know why. She doesn't do anything but like just gnaws on them. But yeah, I don't know what her deal is. So anyways, great way to stash bust. If you don't have like a designated mini kit, you can grab a bunch of scraps together. This would make a great scrappy project, and do a cowl. So the way you wear it is you kind of just wrap it around, and I mean you could probably go 3 turns, so it's really nice and comfy. You could probably do 2 turns, and then if you have like a coat, you could put it on top. But really great. It's nice and warm. Lindsay of Hello Stella specializes in, let me tidy myself up a little bit. But she specializes in non-superwash yarn. So if this were to go into the dryer, it would felt, guaranteed. And then from what I understand, she's transitioning from using acid dyes, which is what most indie dyers use, to using all natural dyes. So I'm really excited to see kind of where that takes her and what kind of colors she comes up with. So definitely check those guys out. That's my only finished object. I have spent like the last week and a half solely focused on that because I wanted to get it done before the start of summer sock camp. So we're going to transition into like whips / summer sock camp. Whips are works in progress, if you didn't know. Summer sock camp is a sock make-along hosted by the Crazy Sock Lady. And she has a YouTube channel. She also is very active on Instagram. But you basically knit socks all summer. And there are prizes, so you can tag her in pictures, use the hashtag, be in the Ravelry threads, and she'll pull for prizes. But you don't have to sign up, you don't have to pay an entrance fee, you just knit socks. So I love summer sock camp. I do it every year. I've only missed the first year, but after that I've always done it. And I just really enjoy knitting socks in general, obviously, but also just the knitting socks with other people who are also knitting socks. So there is that. Let me show you what I'm casting on. I know we talked about this last week, but I actually cast them on. So I cast on 2 pairs of socks this morning. These are all 3 of the 4 I'm going to show you are going to be the Basic B Shorty socks by Summer Lee. And then the last one is going to be also a Summer Lee design, but a different pattern. So this is, I don't remember what they're called. I think this one's Mini Eggs. I have it all written down, but this one, the cuff is done. This one is, don't remember. One is about a sunset and the other one I think is about a meadow walk. But there's that one. That cuff is done. Both of these are ready for heels. And then I still need to cast on one more. So that's this one. And those are like the mini socks. So if you missed last week's episode, I'm doing 14 pairs of mini like shorty socks. All right, so if you missed last episode, I'm doing 14 pairs of shorty socks. I did Paisley Knit, who's also from Canada. She had a seasons box throughout all of last year. So I saved up all the skeins except for 2. 2 are already knit into shorty socks. But I saved them all so I could use them for summer sock camp. So I'm doing 14 pairs of shorty socks, which does not take me as long as like a full length sock because I'm already ready for heels. And instead of like taking 2 days to knit the cuff and the leg and then start the heel. So these are the spring colors. I have one other spring color, but that one was knit up last year. Then, of course, I have summer, and I've already knit 1 summer color, so I have 3 summer colors, and then 4 for fall and 4 for winter. So I knew I wanted to do 4 full-length socks as well. And I had pulled 3 colors already that I knew I'm just doing, and I was trying to figure out what my last color was going to be. What are you doing? You're getting into trouble. Ouch. So I kind of went through my stash, and I kept going back and forth, and I decided I need to do one of the forgotten projects. For me, a forgotten project is anything that was started in 2022 or later that never got finished, and that's considered a forgotten project. So for last year's summer sock camp, I had done all of my socks that I had on my list except for 1. I was trying to rush through and get them done before the end of camp and decided 1, the pattern is not working, and 2, I'm not gonna make the deadline. And I chose to stop. And that was the right choice to make because I wasn't gonna finish, and also the sock wasn't working out well. So it also like, it hurt a little bit in that I didn't like complete my goal, but it was the right choice to make. So I decided that was gonna be my 4th color. So this one is called Button Down Flannel. My husband just got home, so I had to say hi real quick, let the dog out, hence all the noise. This color is called Button Down Flannel. It's by Hickory Lane Fiber Co. I think that's the full name. Hickory Lane. Lisa, she's in Pennsylvania. She's wonderful. I've done several test knits for her and samples. So I think this is on her cashmere base. I've had it for at least 2 years. So I'm going to do this, and I love how it looks kind of like a fire, and that it's got the reds and the yellows, but also has hints of blues and pinks in it. So I think it's going to look really good knit up. The pattern I'm doing is, I think it's the little cabled black socks, something like that. It's linked down below. It's also by Summerlee. I've done this pattern before, and I really liked the way she wrote the cables, in that you still have lots of stretch in the sock so that the cable doesn't like make everything really tight and uncomfortable. So tonight I'm going to cast on this one, which I kind of loosely timed it. It takes me about 30-ish minutes, if I'm not distracted, to cast on, knit my little cuff, which is about 12 rows, do like my leg, which is like another 6 rows, and then I'm ready for the heel. So it's not going to take me a ton of time. So I'm going to knit this one up for today. I'm going to start this cuff. I don't know if I'm going to do the full cuff or just like half of it, but I'll do that today. And then I'll work on my other whip. I'm doing a test knit for Kelly Fowler, and she has this sweater called the Frankie V Sweater. It's this beautiful V-neck sweater. I haven't touched it in like almost 2 weeks because I was finishing up that cowl. So I need to get back on that, finish all the increases so I can work on the body. So obviously I don't have that to show you because there was no progress made. All right. Before we move into like the watching and reading and the life updates, I did want to talk about summer sock camp and how to have like a successful summer sock camp. Like I said, I've been doing all of them except for the first year, but I do this every year. And over the last couple of years, I've kind of developed, if you can hear the dog, I'm so sorry. But I've kind of developed some tips and tricks, if you will, on how to have like a really great summer sock camp. So first is kind of define what success means to you. For some people, it's a number, like knit 12 pairs of socks, knit my first sock, or just have fun, or make lots of socks, whatever that success looks for you. Last year, it was knit however many pairs of socks, and I was one under that. And even though that was a very successful year, to me, it felt like it wasn't because I didn't meet my definition of success. This year, it's knit all 14 of the season's socks plus 4 full-length socks, which kind of goes into tip number 2, which is set a very specific goal. So if your goal, your like definition of success is just have fun, awesome. There's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the summer, you're going to have a lot of fun knitting socks. So if your specific goal is knit 4 pairs of socks over the summer, that's a specific goal because you have a number and it's measurable. So mine is knit 14 pairs of shorties and 4 full-length socks, right? That's a specific number. All right, so next you need to break down your goal into bite-sized chunks, because it's very easy to say knit 14 pairs of socks, but when it actually gets into the application, the how-to, that's when it can get a little daunting. So to make that easier, we're going to break it down to bite-sized chunks. So it's going to look like knit the cuff in 1 day, then knit half the leg on day 2, and knit the second half of the leg on day 3, and then knit the heel on day 4, and then knit the gusset decreases on day 5 and 6, knit half the foot on day 7, knit the rest of the foot on day 8, and knit the toe on day 9, and weave and ends on day 10. And in 10 days, you have 1 sock done. Okay, so by breaking it down in really bite-sized chunks, then it makes it a little less daunting. Does that make sense? Okay, so when I have my knitting planner, which this also goes into step 4, which is write everything down. I have this knitting planner. It also has all my show notes. But I write down very specifics as far as what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna cover these notes because that's not relevant. But like for the next 3 days for this week, I have very specific things. So I wrote down, the numbers are my list of what's in my stash. I have a running list. But you can see for today on the 24th, I already have under the yellow, the cuff is done. And under number 5, the cuff is done. So I know I have 2 more cuffs I need to do. And I also need to work on my sweater. If this is your first time using kind of like a planner or some very specific mapping out system, I would even write goal, cuff. Actually, I have that here. This was my cowl I was working on. So because I wanted to get it done by yesterday, which I did, I wrote down at the top of the day my goal for that day. I wanted to knit 3 colors. And so by having it written down, it made it a lot easier to feel like I was on track. So write it down. Write it down on paper. If you have a planner, if you have a little notebook, keep notes in your phone, on your Ravelry pages. But by writing it down, you're kind of solidifying that plan. And that goes into number 5, which is be flexible. Sometimes life happens. Sometimes, you go on a trip or someone is sick, and, if you have kids and you have sick kids, that might cut into your knitting time. I'm still trying to figure this out, and that I know I have Taekwondo classes for myself on Tuesday and Thursday nights. So I'm not going to have as much knitting time in the evening because I have class, right? And so for those days, I need to lower what my goal for that day, because I know I'm not going to have as much time. I also work on those days, so I know my knitting time is a lot shorter. Now, does this mean you need to knit the way I do and cast on 4 pairs of socks all at once? No, not at all. If this is your first time knitting a pair of socks, or this is your first time participating in summer sock camp, make that goal super achievable. If this is your first time knitting a pair of socks, 1 pair of socks is a great goal to do. So take your time and take 3 days to knit the cuff. And if you're able to knit it faster than that, that's awesome. Take 3 days to knit the leg. Take a couple days for the heel and the gusset increases, and just really pace yourself out. On top of summer sock camp, I know I'm supposed to be knitting a sweater for this test knit. The due date isn't till the end of August, so really I have all of summer sock camp to knit this sweater, but I need to make sure I'm staying on top of that goal as well, as far as finishing my sweater on time. So hopefully those 5 little tips will help you have what you feel is a successful summer sock camp. I know for me, I kind of bit off a little more than I should have. I got really excited for camp. I started winding up yarn before I really thought, like, what can I actually get done? Because I probably could have just done 2 pairs of socks and knit on those and get them done very quickly. Whereas if I'm doing 4 and I'm rotating my time between these 4 pairs of socks and my sweater, then it's going to take me a bit longer. But I also have all summer, so I should be okay. All right. So what we're reading and watching. I am still reading The Magicians by Lev Grossman. Really enjoying it. You guys know I'm a big fan of the show, and a lot of the show, which I did not realize, was kind of made up to kind of fill in blanks between what happens in the book. It looks like the first book is just their entire time at school, which is fine because you cannot, spend 4 years at college and somehow cover all of those events in one book. So I do like how the book is going. And I really like all the individual storylines that the show focused on more. So I'm trying to treat them as 2 very separate things. And so far I still really enjoy both. What I'm watching, I just started Royal Pains on Netflix. It's a show that was, I want to say it was on USA, but it came out probably like 10 years ago, to be honest, and maybe longer than that. And it's about a doctor who becomes a concierge doctor in the Hamptons and helps out all sorts of people from all walks of life and solves like medical mysteries and whatnot. So it's a great show. It's light, it's funny. It's got that hint of medicine in it. So for me, that's a really great show for knitting because I don't have to focus all that hard. So I can knit and then just vaguely pay attention. Life updates. Sabine is growing like a weed, getting super sassy. She just lost her first tooth. If you didn't know, dogs lose their teeth like kids do. So she had her baby teeth and now she's getting her adult teeth. So she is like extra chompy on all the things. So we're trying to give her lots of like dog toys and whatnot to keep her from chewing up things she should not be chewing on. But other than that, she's growing super fast. Our kids had their like dance show. So they have a local dance studio teacher come and teach all the grades a little dance. And then they perform it in front of the parents. So our school has 2 classes per grade. So they do like half the school at one time and then half the school at the second time. So thankfully, both of our kids were at the same time. So we only had to go to one dance show. And so they had so much fun doing that. And then we've got Memorial Day coming up and end of school stuff. And we have family visiting. So lots of things happening all at once. Hopefully lots of knitting time included in there. And that's kind of it. So definitely a shorter episode. Just because my time was very focused on one thing, which is great because then things get done, but at the same time, there's not a ton to talk about. So, shorter episode, but that's okay because we're knitting socks. So if you're interested in joining us for summer sock camp, check out Kay's post and videos explaining how it works, or throw a question in the comments below and I'll try and help you out as well. But we're very much looking forward to end of school and the beginning of all the summer things. So that's it for me today. I had so much fun hanging out with you guys. I hope you have lots of happy knitting in your weekend, and I will see you guys next time.